I asked you questions, and it was when we were a long time ago in that mud room over there. And I asked you, and the communists were here at the time, but I asked you, do you believe that God could use you to read? And you answered yes, we believe God would do that. As we drove up your road today, coming into your church, I remembered the days of old. When there was no building here anymore. I remember when you had all of the stones along the road. And I can remember the first time that Worku and I came and I preached here, it was on, everyone was on the ground. And then later on you built that building over there. And then we preached in there. And then I remember telling you if you would build a building, I would put your roof on. And I think of the goodness of the Lord in these days. I met Worku Gole in June of 1989 in the city of the Great King in Jerusalem. And we became very intimate friends on an almost month-long study. And in June of 1990, we went into Ethiopia for the first time. It was communism. In those days, very difficult times for the people. And as we traveled around, we got to see all the churches that were torn down. And during those days of communism, they arrested a lot of the leadership. Worku himself was in solitary confinement in a hole in the ground in the middle of a prison for 13 months. Many of the leaders, Diaso Boku, many of these people were imprisoned for several years. But God did a great work. And one of the churches outside, just south of Dila, we were going down the road one day, and he told me I was going to speak at a church. And as we're going down this dirt road, for a very long time, I noticed on both sides of the road large rocks, you know, anywhere from 15, 16, 18 inches, 12 inches, and by 12, and just piles of them going down the road. And I asked Worku, I said, what are these? And this went on for probably a half mile on each side of the road. He said, these are the stones that will be the foundation for a new church someday when God allows them to build one. So we went to this church, and here was about 1,000 to 1,500 people sitting on the ground, poles up with banana leaves on the top to shade about 500 of them. The other 1,000 had to sit on the ground out in the sun. I had a table, a little tiny table there that day, and as I began to proclaim the Word of God, I've never seen a celebration like it. The choirs sang, everybody was rejoicing in the Lord. And I told them I had noticed the rocks. And I said, when you build this building someday, I said, by the grace of God, when you get it done and that foundation is laid and the walls are up, I'll put the roof on. And It was a real joy. I mean, the celebration was holy. And one of the greatest things I remember on that day is they take the offering. And when they take an offering, people come forward and they put the offering on a little tiny table that was handmade. And the elders stand there. They had me stand there. And a little old lady came up to me, just weathered in time. And she put some coins on the table and she grabbed my hands, put them together, and then kissed each side of my hand and started crying, saying she just wished she had more to give to the Lord. But this little old lady, every time she came to church, carried a stone. And so some 6 years later, I was now in Idaho, and we'd started work. All of a sudden, I get a call from my friend Worku Gole. And it's something like this: "My friend, I greet you in the name of the Lord. Do you remember the church with all the stones in the road?" And I said, "Yes." He said, "They have finished their building. They are ready for their roof." And I thought, oh, Father, help me. I was just starting a church. I had no money. And I told some friends the story that I'm telling to you. In a matter of moments, I had the money to send to them and put the roof on. Years later, as you know, Merle, and we went out here, and that was in what, 2008 or 7 that we went? 8. 2008 we went out, and you got to see the building. We preached in that building, and they were in there jammed, celebrating the glory of God and the roof that I had put on years before. So I thank God. There's a great story in Ethiopia. Under the hardest of times, the gospel went everywhere. And to this day, even at this hour, while Ethiopia is starting to prosper, the gospel of Jesus Christ still goes out. It's as if you get the opportunity to walk back into the book of Acts and see the power of the Almighty. I hope this story will not just give you information, but want to fan the flame. There's no one like the Lord. You really want to know Him. You don't just want to believe in Him. And that's what happens when you go to Ethiopia. God bless.